series action figure review. Today I'm looking at the first in the second series of retro figures from Bif Bang Pow, which is the Cyber Leader from the 4th Doctor adventure, Revenge of the Cybermen. Now, I have to thank my girlfriend Kat for getting me this figure. This was one of my anniversary gifts for our first year anniversary, and it was actually the last figure I needed. So big thank you to my wonderful girlfriend for getting that for me. The Cyber Leader is actually the strangest figure, I think, in the line, for the reason that it just looks a bit weird. It all falls down to the head. Now, in real life, it doesn't look so bad. On camera, it does look a bit worse, but it's not great anyhow. The problem with the head is that it's too small. Normally, some people say about Bif Bang Pow figures is that the heads are too large. This case, where the head could have done with being a bit bigger, I think, they went too far the other way and really shrunk it down. But the other issue is the way that the head sits on the body. But I'll explain about that in a second. Now, the articulation on the figure is the standard articulation for a Mego toy. Head, shoulders, elbows, 360s at the wrists, you know, they're hinged as always. Articulation at the waist, at the hips, at the knees, and if you took the boots off, at the ankles as well. So, standard articulation. But if we now take a look at the detail of it, and more specifically the head, I'll show you what the problem is. Now, you know, to look at it, looks fine. It's really nicely done. It's a really good look. I mean, they didn't go down the Dennis Fisher route and give him a nose, thank goodness. And, you know, it looks really good. They've actually given the eyes grating effect. As you can see, it looks like there's the wire mesh. The ridges on the helmet and on the handles are really good. The gun looks really nice. You know, they've done a really good job. However, it's down to this business about it being too small. Now, from the front, it doesn't look too bad, but as soon as we turn it on its side, his head is so thin. Now, if you think a human being is meant to put their head inside that helmet, it's teeny tiny. I mean, it is quite mad. It looks like his head has been stuck under a steamroller. So that's one of the issues, that it does look too thin. From the front, you don't really notice it, but on the side, you think, gosh, that's a thin head. Obviously, from the back, as you can see, they haven't painted the back here black, which is actually how it looks in the program. But because, you know, it's a retro figure, it's not all about accuracy, you know, they can get away with it. The other issue is the way the head sits on the body. There is this massive gap between the shoulders of the Cyber Leader, of the shoulders of the body even, and the head. And you can even see the gap here. Now, again, this one suffers from the same problem as my Sontaran did. The head isn't in all the way anyhow, but this is just a regular problem. It almost looks as if that gap, as if, I don't know, it just, as if it could just go, it should just be down a bit more. It should sort of be down here. And I think if the head was lowered slightly, it would look a lot better. And I think that's the problem. The head construction hasn't worked quite well enough. And I know with some things, like, you can say, oh, well, it's a retro toy, you know, they're not meant to look brilliant. But I just think on this Cyber Leader, and especially because the Cybermen are my favourite, and this is my favourite design, it just looks a bit off, which is a shame. And I hope that if they are to release, you know, just Cybermen down the line, which I'm sure they will, because, you know, they've got the template of the costume and everything now, maybe they could work out a way to make that head fit the body better. They may not do, they may just release it as is. But it would be nice if they could either make the head slightly bigger, or at the very least, or, you know, more so, just try and make the head fit on the shoulders in a tighter fashion, so it's not raised off the body, because it just looks weird, because you can see that there's this massive gap here which should be on the shoulders, and that's the problem, I think. So my only gripe with this figure is the head. Other than that, though, I really like it. The detailing on the suit is really nice. It's similar in construct to the Sontaran suit, in that it's sort of silver foil overall costume. In fact, I think the material is the same that they used on the belt for the Sontaran. All the piping, I believe, has been stitched to the actual figure. In places, however, it has been glued with a glue gun. When mine came out the box, there were strings of it hanging off, which I just peeled off, so that was fine. These bits up here, the circular bits, are, you know, just thin sheets of the fabric that have been glued on. And here on the back, all this has been glued over the top. So although this is Velcro, and technically you could remove it, you're not going to be able to remove it without peeling this off. And if you peel that off, you've pretty much ruined the figure. So this figure is going to have to stay inside its costume. You've also got the lines here that are printed on the suit and on the knees as well, which is really good, which is, you know, just like in the program. And of course the chest unit, which again is just glued onto the body, so be careful with it, because if you smack it around too much, it might fall off. It probably will fall off. And, you know, it's really nicely detailed, and of course this is a chest unit they can use for many Cybermen if they decide to do different versions. So overall I think is really good. Oh, and the boots here are also just sort of plain silver boots, which if you lift up the trousers, they have these sort of ridges at the top. So those are sort of just moon boots. So, you know, the figure's really nice overall. It's just the head. The head is weird. I mean, even my girlfriend saw it, and she said when it stood on its side like that, you said you can barely see that he has a head, which is quite funny, really. So hopefully, if Bif Bang Pow do more Cybermen in the future, either of this type or of other types, they'll be able to rectify that issue. He also comes with an accessory, which is a cyber mat from the same story. It is quite small. It isn't in scale, really, because they are quite big. I think probably the character options one is probably more in scale. But it's nice enough. Just a solid piece, sculpted like that, almost sort of in a raised pose, ready to leap and attack its victims. So, overall, I do like the figure. I think the suit's really good. You know, it is good overall, but it's just the head that detracts from the overall look, which is a bit of a shame. But, you know, I think still try and track this one down if you're a fan of Mego figures or Dennis Fisher, the Dennis Fisher toys that were released, and, you know, check them out, because I think they're really good. So thank you for watching this review, guys. My next Bif Bang Pow review will be the final figure in Wave 1, which is the Master from the Deadly Assassin, which should be coming fairly soon. So thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time.